big job.
You know, to me, Taaruk, you have become a man after this project. You know, I've always thought
it's the character's arc from a boy to a man.
Yeah, you really have become a man. You know, because
It's not an aisle, so technically I should not be crossing over. But I requested that the white man who was sitting there, and I said, "Is it okay if I just go across?" And he said, "Sit down, you brown bastard." And I went and sat down, and I started shaking. And
guys, 7th of March on Sony Live comes a terrific series, The Waking of a Nation. Yes, I am biased. I have tremendous love for Ram Madhvani and everything that he does. But I wait till I see the entire series before pronouncing judgment. I know it's a powerful word. But he just never fails to let me down. Such is his mastery over his craft. And we spoke to the principal cast yesterday. We're missing out on Taaruk, Ram himself, and Sameer Uddin, who I'm meeting after a long time. And here they are in studio. Hello, Taaruk.
Hi. Thank you for having us.
Hello, Ram.
Hi, thank you for being always so positive and supportive of the work.
Hi, Sameer.
Hi, how are you doing?
Very well. I have a complaint against you, Sameer, that you don't do more work in mainstream cinema and OTT. And you're so cocooned in your advertising space that your fans of your work like yours truly miss out on it.
Oh,
Do you have a defense ready?
I think it's just one is laziness and the other is comfort, because I think I'm just used to working with people who I'm very comfortable with, who can give me the space to work out of it. So एक तो शायद वही है, और दूसरा most likely, yeah, advertising work is a lot of fun as well.
Yeah,
Though I'm
it
not
is.
doing that much nowadays. I'm also pursuing a lot of my individual work, so that keeps me consumed. And also, like long formats are like a marriage.
Yeah,
it has to go right.
And I remember Hrishi Rich from the
Hrishi
UK.
project, yeah.
Hrishi Rich telling me that it's also a very lonely thing, BGM. You must like your own company because you spend hours alone.
Right.
Is that it? Not so much when you're doing songs, but
Right.
background scores. Yeah.
Actually, that's the safe cocoon, because that was one place where there was not much breach creatively. It's just that nowadays everybody has a stake on like films, and the anxieties are so high because everything has to work. So now even Ormax has sort of bled into the score culture. But otherwise, yeah, that's why I still like to work with people who understand the medium and like where there is, because it's 2 hours of writing. So you can't keep going over and over. You have to be very sure of what you're doing and just get it done. So for me, it's always work in a safe space, work in a comfort space where you get that room to sort of work around with. Yeah.
And it is, in that aspect, a very exciting series to work on. Because of the pain and pathos that one has to convey through the music.
Yeah.
And also, the philosophy that one has to convey through the songs. I know that as music composers, you have to look at it as one whole piece, because the songs can't be radically different from the BGM, unless you're doing an item song. Fat chance of Ram doing that in a show like this.
Soon. No, don't worry. Next film. Next film.
Yeah, but talk about that. I mean, talk about the nature of the subject and how you simply had to do your best because of the nature of the subject.
Can I interrupt and ask Sameer to speak about something also, which he should speak about, which is how he scored before we even shot.
Wow.
So this was scored to the script, and
That's
it is
very
not,
interesting,
So
yeah.
I don't give music directors reference tracks. I find that disrespectful. So now let's hear him.
In fact, that's what I wanted to tell you. Like, it started off with, we basically, and usually what do? We get a film and we start scoring on top of it. But with Ram, it was just diametrically the opposite, because what we did was, I think we saw the narration draft first.
Yeah, the narration draft is basically my co-writer Shantanu Srivastava and Shatrujit Nath actually just narrating the script. So we take a camera and they narrate the whole script. So that's what he saw.
So basically that was so
क्या है,
powerful.
समीर पढ़ता नहीं, तो मैंने बोला यार मैं इसको
पढ़ाई में हाथ कमजोर है, तो राम ने कहा तुम देख लो सुन लो.
I remember Sanjay Gupta telling me once that he narrates to Sanjay Dutt,
Okay.
which matchsticks.
What?
हाँ, he said कि अच्छा लगता है. I'll say बाबा matchstick है, matchbox खोला ये है सलमान. ये है आप. How beautiful 90s cinema used to be.
तो वही हुआ हमारा. तो इसमें ऐसे ही हुआ. When I heard the narration, यार honestly it was so powerful, and I could see the whole series just by the sheer narration. It was so beautifully done. मतलब we had on certain moments we had tears because मतलब इतना at just the reading level it was so powerful. So that was my first information to start working with. And then Ram of course has been like a Kabir aficionado for years. मतलब 2008 में भी उन्होंने मुझे किताबें भेजी हैं कबीर की. तो वही है कि तो हमने वही सोचा कि लेट्स स्टार्ट विद कबीर. उनके दोहे लेते हैं, उनको कंपोज करते हैं, एंड उसी से हम वी विल सॉर्ट ऑफ प्रेसिपिटेट ऑल द थीम्स एज वेल. हालांकि थीम्स में एक बहुत ही स्ट्रॉन्ग ब्रिटिश वर्ल्ड भी था और एक अपना जो इंडियन जो स्ट्रगल ऑफ द इंडियन साइड एंड द अथॉरिटी ऑफ द ब्रिटिश साइड. तो दोनों के लिए थीम्स डिज़ाइन करनी थी. तो पहला जो ये था हमने उनको गानों से ही शुरू किया. तो हमने सारे जो दोहे थे उनको कंपोज किया. उसमें रोमी भी पार्ट था, फिर तारुक भी आए, एंड श्रुति वाज आल्सो देयर.
Yeah, Shruti Vishwanath is one of my Kabir folk, like she's a singer, and so she came on to help us, and to also get Taaruk to schooled within the schooling of Kabir.
तो वो सब साथ साथ चल रहा था while they were doing the pre-production prep, and I was writing themes because also Ram likes to play the themes on the set while they're performing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So in fact, he came up with something called the conspiracy theme, since the show is about a conspiracy. And we say it very clearly that you know about the massacre, but you don't know about the conspiracy. And that theme, I remember when we first saw it, it told me how to shoot the commission sequences. And I actually enacted how the commission sequences should be in front of the whole team after I heard the music. I would not have known how to shoot it if he hadn't done that.
Wow. For all of you watching, listening, I'm sure in school you found out about Kabir Ke Dohe. And Sant Kabir Das is not just a part of the lyrics and the music of this series, but Taaruk's character uses his life to narrate a story which is very, very poignant. And I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but he does show up also in the script. So my question to you, Ram, is that, from what Sameer just said, it looks as though Sant Kabir Das is an important part of your life.
First, I just want to say that though the duas are from Kabir, the melodies are all by Sameeruddin.
By Sameeruddin.
They're not actually. There are many melodies that are already, that people sing, but these are specially composed. I did go a year and a half ago to one of the foremost proponents of Kabir today. His name is Prahlad Tipania ji, and I went and stayed in his village, which is outside of Indore, called Lunia Khedi, with my singing teacher. I will not sing today. Taaruk will sing today, hopefully.
Yeah.
Sameer will also sing, but I won't. But basically, I went there to just seep myself within the Malwa tradition of Kabir and to do my own method directing. Rather, they say method acting, by method directing bhi hota hai. So I get moved by folk music. Sometimes what happens that these are portals to yourself. You don't know why is it that you start crying when you hear some of this. And there is a saying which I heard from Shruti. She said, "Aapko hai na shabd ki chot lag gayi." ये जो शब्द की चोट, meaning you got wounded by the word. And what a fantastic concept that is, that you can actually hear something and it becomes a portal to your being. And so this was the reason that I'm sort of hearing Kabir and then learning how to sing, and then using Kabir's dohas with Sameer's music in The Waking of a Nation, coming on March 7th on Sony Live. I must not forget to plug it.
No, I'll keep doing it. Don't worry.
Thank you. No,
don't worry about that.
Just to also quickly add on to that, तो उसमें एक और अच्छी चीज़ ये होती है कि we composed all the themes beforehand, right? शूट पे सारी थीम्स गई हैं. whenever those relevant scenes were being played, उस टाइम पे राम also cued these music tracks for them. उससे एक बहुत बड़ी जो परेशानी होती है, जो एक रेफरेंस ट्रैक का पैराडॉक्स हर स्कोर कंपोजर की लाइफ का प्रॉब्लम है, वो बाहर हो जाता है. बिकॉज आई मस्ट से दैट फॉर मी द एडिटर्स डिड सच अ ब्यूटिफुल जॉब ऑफ म्यूजिक एडिटिंग, बिकॉज बाय द टाइम इट केम बैक टू मी, all I had to just do was just dress it up and just.
So Sameer would compose 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever he felt like. Then we would put that music onto the riot scene, or the friendship theme, and you'd put it there, and it would magically, like, it felt like, how is it that he knew that it's going to work? And it worked. We didn't have to do, there was some cutting that the editors did, but by and large, in terms of the feeling of it, there was not one track that went wrong. Like, so you said conspiracy, I put it on the commission, it worked. You said friendship theme, I put it worked. He said this is the father-son theme, we put it worked.
I hope you're also going to release the soundtrack on streaming services and otherwise.
Well,
that people can.
Here's now the first person who's asking for it. Please, more people ask for it. The very idea of background music is not really respected, and people don't really. But we're hoping that at least the songs will go out there.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that the background score also goes out there. It's only geeks like us who follow OST and background music.
Yeah.
But Sony Music, let's put it out.
Yeah, what I did do yesterday, post meeting Ram and Taaruk, is I started chasing Mohit and Mahalakshmi and Xenia, all the people who are working behind the scenes, saying कि कुछ तो गाने भेजो यार, because you hear them in the series, and then you go to the end credits and you figure out who's in there, but you want to have a listening experience, a pure audio listening experience. And I'm glad they sent me Chala Chali and they sent me Hum Pardesi. My question to you, Taaruk, is that this is not your genre. I mean, you're basically an indie pop singer, a wonderful indie pop singer at that, might I add.
Yeah.
We've had you here talking about that aspect of your career. So, did you have conversations with Sameer saying you want to sing, or did Sameer turn around and say you should, because you're the lead character and a lot of this reflects the pain and pathos of what Sani is going through?
No, sir. Ram sir told me to sing.
Beautiful.
So, and I do as I am told. And then I think, I'm pretty sure that there could have been a better singer.
No.
And then Shruti Vishwanathan, honestly, she kind of, before I even got to singing, she helped me a lot to, not just vocally, but like understand the root emotion that these songs come from, what it means. Like, she really helped me connect to it, which, because it's such a different genre for me, like, it's nothing like I've ever kind of ventured into before. So I really had to learn about what it meant to me personally also, understand it, and then when you sing it, it's different. And then I went to Sameer sir's studio, and then I got to singing it, and
you knew he was a singer,
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when Ram said, let's use him, what was your thing? Dekhte hain aur nahi ho jayega. Kya tha?
Of course, you start with Dekhte Hain, because सीधी सी बात आपने जैसे कही, he's a beautiful, like, he does a lot of his own music, which is beautiful, but it's in a certain style of music.
Yeah,
अब खटके ताने, जो छोटी मोटी चीजें, जो ornamentation जो हम इस तरह के composition में करेंगे, that could have been new to him, but the thing is, he really worked hard on it. I must say, 3 months later when we re-recorded some of the parts, तो गमक खटके तारुक की आवाज़ों में सुनाई देने लग गए थे हमें.
Very nice.
So he really worked hard for it. Due props to him. And also the important thing was because he is the protagonist, और ये खुद मतलब अपने आप को represent कर रहे हैं उसमें, तो his voice made the most sense rather than doing a playback voice. And also जब हम एक इस तरह का कैरेक्टर दिखाते हैं, हम उसमें कोई संगीत विशारद भी नहीं दिखा रहे हैं. तो whatever comes as honestly as जैसे रूह से जो गाना निकलता है, हमें वही चाहिए था. So that's why we knew that Taaruk will deliver without much.
Yeah, and I'm so glad, Ram, that you said he needs to sing it, because there's also this whole voice casting for songs has also become templated. कबीर का है, सूफी गाना है, कैलाश खेर को बुलाते हैं, सूफियाना अंदाज में गाएगा, जावेद अली को बुलाते हैं. So, I mean, in all honesty, if you had got a Kailash Kher or a Javed Ali, I'm sure it would have been a good song. But the curiosity and the intrigue saying, wow, Taaruk Raina sung this. Let me go check this out. Then coming away with, wow. Not only has he matured as an actor, it's reflecting in his singing too.
Yeah.
So why you were convinced that he needed to sing?
Well, actually, the casting of the voice, didn't even come into my head. I just knew that when we actually had decided to cast Taaruk, I just said, this is the boy, this is the actor who will sing it. So I didn't think of it in any other way. None of the other singers even came into our heads. I don't think we even had a discussion about it. So I didn't think like that.
I'm glad. But he really had to work hard for it. Honestly, between his acting schedules, like there was a lot going on. In between that, to make room, every time I would say Taaruk, he would be like, I will, and a lot of times I would be happy with it. Okay, yaar, ye acha lag raha hai. He would say, I'll come back after 1 week, we'll re-record it. So, bhai, mehnat to kari hai ladke ne.
And because Shruti was what she was trying to teach me. I mean, I don't know where I got with it, but it wasn't, the benchmark was very high. Like, I was like, let me at least reach a quarter of this. And I'll be
I think Shruti's job was to try and see how
the anxiety in his
voice. You can, but I think Shruti's job was to try. One is sur and sort of trying to sing it well, but the other is to tap into yourself.
Yeah,
I think that's really where the pain and the when you're hearing that voice, it's not coming from just making sure that it's polished and all that. It's coming from him tapping into his, like a portal into himself. So that was the big job.
To me, Taaruk, you have become a man after this project. I've always thought
of the character's arc from a boy to a man.
Yeah, you really have become a man. Because to me, you were the biggest surprise from the Waking of a Nation.
Yeah.
Not even Ram
It's the
Madhvani,
waking of one man.
Not even Ram Madhvani's direction, because like I said, I'm a fan. I expected it to be brilliant. If it had been anything less than brilliant, I would have been disappointed.
We wouldn't be here.
But you just stunned me. You shocked me, because to me, you've always been this chocolate boy. Even when you come for interviews.
Sorry, now what we're saying? He's a dark chocolate boy. And because the show is about the color of your skin, that means he's a brown chocolate boy also.
And I'm watching this and I'm saying, how's this boy going to be coping? And I'm like, nah, isse na ho payega bhai. And I'm seeing episode after episode after episode, and by the time I finish with 6, I'm going, oh my God, because it every time I've seen you, it's you've come in like this, clean shaven, with 2 beautiful girls to either side of you, because you always come with your heroines.
Well, this time he's got two beautiful boys next to him,
who more often than not are crushing on you, and they're giggling constantly.
They're crushing on him.
And saying, oh, Taaruk, such a lovely singer, he's wonderful, this and that.
Taaruk's a lovely singer, he's wonderful.
And
right out there.
and you've talked about love and crushes, and that's it. And you've gone back.
Yeah.
So I've seen you do that on screen too. And here are you playing this lawyer with gravitas, with your voice trembling in these long courtroom scenes. The beard helped, obviously.
But I have to interrupt for a minute, because at the end, he takes on Michael O'Dwyer, who's a British actor, and Paul McEwen. He's actually Irish, and he's obviously, when you're working with anybody, and we had 12 British actors who flew down, and they all come in that British Shakespeare tradition, right?
They're
and
all very good.
They're all very good.
Like, they're scarily good.
Yeah, and he has to take on this man, and then he takes him on, and that scene is when. And then after which, then Taaruk does something which was not even scripted. He takes on the man, and we're shooting with 4 cameras, because I'm shooting with, I don't do it in a roll camera action cut kind of way. I call it System 360. But at the end of it, suddenly Taaruk says, Hindustan, Zindabad. And the whole commission, all 150 people, go, and Taaruk over there, and this is him doing it himself.
Made it to the trailer.
He made the trailer. Shocking. In a ghost flesh moment. Yeah.
How do you age for the screen? I mean, you don't have to really age. You're not playing an old man. But to put years and seem like a guy with more experience than Taaruk Raina.
I think it wasn't me trying to seem like I had more experience. I think what even Ram sir made me kind of, in his own way, go through, to reach that point of almost breaking emotionally, in terms of the script. And I really felt by the end of, by the time we reached the courtroom, he had made me feel a lot of things that this character would have felt and dealt with, because of how his shooting process is. You forget that you are acting, you end up living a scene. You know, you're spending 45 minutes in the scene. You trust me, you do not remember after 5 minutes that you are acting. You don't remember. I sometimes I have said all of these things because sometimes I've said things because I just don't know where to go from there. I remember it comes back, but like, you know, you're so engrossed in the moment, in the environment, you can't see a camera. There's no, like, you can't see anything. You're surrounded by this system 360. It's a world that's being shot. It's like the most professional GoPro type setup, but like with cinematic qualities. Like it's truly surreal to be in there. You forget by the time, I don't know when it ends, and I don't know what's real, what's not after a point, until I see people walk in modern clothing. You know, and you forget, like, if you spend an hour acting and you slowly also, you completely kind of immerse yourself into that character and into that world.
So the idea of System 360 is to try and get to some realism, to truth, to try and focus on the landscape of the human face. And I also have to speak for a moment about our workshop. There was Sheena and Pooja, who were the two people.
Such wonderful actors.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're such wonderful actors. I mean, I've had the
Amazing.
good fortune of being invited for them to the Gentleman's Club.
I've
this
heard it's
play
a
of theirs.
fantastic play.
Even I want to watch
And
it.
I went to G5A and I was absolutely enamored by what they do. They're just terrific, these girls. Yeah.
So they were the workshop actors, and along with there was at times Atul Mongia was also part of it.
Who's a guru? Yeah.
So I think that also.
He also helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Spent about 3 days with him.
I mean, in a nutshell, basically what we were seeking for was the honest best effort to do this. और कुछ था नहीं दिमाग में.
And I'm really happy that it's on OTT because it's just going to be there for posterity. You know, people you can keep referring it and saying, ab jaake dekh le. You know, it's just one of those things. I want to say that this is perhaps.
But please see it on Friday, March 7th.
Yeah.
On Sony Live.
On Sony Live. The Making of a Nation.
You know, the thing is, it's so staggeringly well researched. And there are a few things which really spoke to me. One is these wonderful quotations that you pick out at the beginning of an episode.
Right.
And the end is just wonderful. Ram's team, research team and him say that every 7 days there is somebody celebrating their independence from the British Empire. From the colonials, and they put their money where their mouth is, because the entire roll has countries, Sierra Leone and Botswana, and
How do they do this? How do they go in, like, that means there's what, 56, 54 countries?
Yeah.
That means there's somebody celebrating independence every week.
Week.
How did this
small
island which is called Great Britain?
Yeah.
How did they do this?
They had the OG Elon Musk.
Yeah, correct.
They literally.
And you know,
It's just
countries
bad
who
weather.
have
They want
gotten
to run away.
independence
They want to
in
run
the
away from their
80s.
weather and their food.
In the 80s, like, you know, some of those countries, they've gotten their freedom in the 80s.
Yeah.
So recent. And
No, it's when one looks at colonialism and what happened to us, and the fact that they even taught us how to eat with a fork and knife, and you know, and they said we are savages because we're eating with our hands, and all of this, and of course our own education and our cultural, you know, sort of, how should I say, colonization of our minds. At least with the British, you know, there was the Quit India movement and they left, but with the Americans, I mean, they've colonized our brain. No, you can't throw them out.
and there is no remorse. You know what I've noticed, Sameer, Taaruk and Ram, is when you go to Germany, there is a certain
There
amount
is
of
remorse.
guilt that Germans, remorse that they feel for the ills of the past. I think the UK is so involved in their football and their
you know,
Also, they
politics.
finished the freedom struggle in their textbook in one paragraph.
In one
No,
para,
these people,
yeah.
the 12 people who came down from London, these actors, they didn't know that this had happened. They came, one of the reasons they came is so that people would know. All of them, 12 of them who flew down from London.
That's wonderful. So
That they actually
individuals,
wanted-
they are at an individual level, there
They
is a
said,
conscience.
yeah, there is a conscience there. They've not been taught about it in their history, and they said, we can't believe we've not been taught about it in our history. How is it that they don't talk about this in their history? We only talk about it in our history, and even in our history, we've only been taught about General, Lieutenant, whatever, not even Lieutenant
Yeah,
Governor
yeah.
Michael O'Dwyer. We just talked about Dyer, who's gone there and, done the massacre.
Yeah.
But what we are really saying is that it's something, there was a larger plan and there was a larger conspiracy at hand. And so that's the new thing. What happened before? What happened after? And the investigation, which is what Taaruk's character does through the commission, which is not based on any real character at all. It's like inspired by true events.
Yeah, Ram says very clearly, inspired by true events. So, if you're looking for any book that is all revealing,
No. That's, whatever we've used is in the public domain,
In the public
and then part of our
and the Hunter Commission, of
imagination.
course. Yeah.
And there are some archives which are there, but it's also, a lot of it is our imagination. My co-writers Shantanu Srivastav and Shatrujit Nath have been at it for 5 years now. For 3 years we wrote it, and actually I have to say thanks to Shogoto, who's in Sony Live, and he's been supporting us, and he's been hearing it at various stages.
No, I like these guys. I like Danish. I like Sogato. They've got a very
been
interesting
Danish.
mind.
Gaurav now,
Yeah,
very supportive.
and the kind of content that they're putting out on the platform on Sony Live is truly exceptional. I mean, this is wonderful. I'm wearing a Chris Martin T-shirt, and you will know this as a musician. One of the most brilliant things that Coldplay did was in one of the gigs.
Yeah.
Chris went on stage and he said,
"Sorry for the British."
"Forgive us for the ills of the
bad
past
things-
that the
bad things
colonials
that-
have done."
the bad things
And
that they've
loving us for what we are.
Yeah.
And then I was like, thank God there's some remorse there, and then I watched this series and I go, there's so much of it. I mean, even Ram and myself were talking about how Churchill took food from the famine of Bengal, diverted it to British troops in the World War, and that food was not used. It was just surplus food.
Yeah.
And
But I
all these
have to
things-
say that what I think the spark of the series came many years ago when I was actually on a flight to London with my mother for the first time, and we were in economy class, and there's three rows, 4 rows, or 3 seats, 4 seats, and 3 seats, and she was on the other side, and then so after the flight took off, I tried to go and meet her. And the kitchen curtain was closed, so that front aisle, it's a front row, has a little extra space. I mean, it's not an aisle, so technically I should not be crossing over. But I requested that the white man who was sitting there, and I said, is it okay if I just go across? And he said, sit down, you brown bastard. And I went and sat down, and I started shaking. And I didn't get up for a long while. And even now, so this was my response. Actually, took me many, many, many years. Some people may have shouted at that point. Some people may have had a physical, thing with him. I was just too scared. I couldn't believe somebody could speak to me like that. And I went and sat down. And now, many, many years later, I'm replying back to that man.
Oh my God, it
with
must have
the-
festered in you for so
so
long.
long, I know. And now I'm replying saying The Waking of a Nation, which is what this show is about, a reaction that I had of humiliation and something which, a certain respect that was taken away from me for that moment. And I thought that that's what had perhaps happened to us collectively.
Having said that, please watch Waking of a Nation, because it also talks about the ills done to British officers and British civilians. So Ram Madhvani, despite having had a personal experience, which is really unfortunate, which he's just talked about, has not made this about Britain bashing.
There's
He
no
does
vilification
show-
of that kind.
Yeah, there is no Britain bashing. In fact, he does turn around and also recognize the good that certain officers and certain people in the community have done.
There's no
Like, for
caricature
Yeah,
kind of,
like the missionaries, education,
Yeah.
the doctors, and how some of them were close. It's humanity, it's insaniyat at the end of the day. So just because we've had this whole conversation about Britain doesn't mean the show is about Britain bashing. It's not.
No, it's not, no.
It's actually a very, very neutral, astute look and a very entertaining show at the end of the day.
No, it's a thriller.
Yeah.
And it's also, most importantly, I'm sorry, I have to plug it, but I have to say that it's about 4 friends. And it's about their
beautiful.
lives, and it's about the youth. And therefore, while we are saying it's about all of this, it's really about these 4 friends and their hopes, their dreams, their ambitions, just like any youth, of the country today.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you've won this fight, sir.
knockout.
Against that guy.
Yeah.
Knockout punch on that.
I mean, talk about a reaction.
Yeah, that's taking it to the next level.
Like, man, he must be rolling in his misery,
Right. Yeah.
regretting
I
his
hope he gets
life.
to see it.
Yeah.
I don't think he even probably remembered that this is what happened.
It's not about him anymore.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about Chala Chali, please.
Yeah.
Let's start. Talk me through Chala Chali a little bit. Then I'd like you to talk about Hum Pardesi.
So Chala Chali ka khela was I think the first we did everything.
Yeah,
And
that was
then
yeah.
we moved on to Chala Chali.
It was the second song that
Yeah.
we did.
So we needed something which talks about the ongoing misery, जो एक ongoing struggle था. अब वही होता है कि हम हमारे ऊपर हो रहा है या हमारे साथ हो रहा है या हम कर रहे हैं या उसका जो संघर्ष है, all of that encapsulation. I mean, I think that was as far as I remember, that was the idea of it, right?
And also, when you talk philosophically to the country, there's a certain reverberation that happens. So when you talk about Pal Do Pal Ki Zindagi, and there's so many songs that we've heard
Do
about.
Din Ka Hai Jug Maan
Yeah,
Liya.
exactly. So that's really, it was about the fact that, listen, life is too precious, and we've seen in Hindi movies everything from Shan, sort of, to even Kal Ho Na Ho, etc. So there is a popular tradition of singing about the fact that life is too precious, and therefore this song is Kabir Doha talking about that.
So we were sifting through many दोहाs और फिर हमें लगा कि जो एक omnious theme हो, जो हमें पता है कि हमारे साथ हो रहा है, लेकिन ये चला चली का खेला है. तो जो भी there are a lot of places where we managed to use it, whether in the way itself it was there, lip sync में, या फिर कुछ जगहों पे वो also काफी सारी themes की नींव बन गई थी. It became the foundation of a lot of themes as well, because यही था कि बहुत ही ज़्यादा strong बात है कि सब चला चली का खेला, 2 दिन का है जुगमान मेला.
But what is fascinating is that when I'm shooting or prepping, whatever, it's a lot of brain fry and a lot of stress. And Sameer used to say, you just come and sit in the studio here. And it was like a holiday for me. I used to go there. It's magical, this language which they have, which is I don't know how they come. He just sits there, he's playing with his guitar, and he comes up with a melody. And how do it's a gift that suddenly comes like into him, and of course they take it so casually, this language, and then he plays this melody, and it's coming from folk, but it's not actually any melody that you've heard before, but somehow it's feeling like as if it's part of your DNA and it's new. And I don't know how he does this, but it was magical just to be there in that room. And for me, it was like a de-stressor.
So हम 6 बजे 6:30 बजे रोज शाम को, मतलब एक टाइम था जब मिलते थे. राम would finish his schedule and River Sound Studio अपना बैंड्रा में, हम लोग वहाँ पे. तो मैं वैसे भी कंसोरा गायक हूँ ना, मेरा ऊपर का सुर पता चलता ना नीचे का. तो माय डियर फ्रेंड रोमी, मैंने कहा यार देख ये
व्हाट अ सिंगर हो.
तो मैं रोमी को बोला, देख यारा ये थोड़ा सा संगीन मामला है, क्योंकि मेरे गले से खटके मुड़की तो बिल्कुल नहीं निकलते, सपाट सुर भी निकलने में बहुत मुश्किल होती है, तो तू प्लीज आ जा. एंड ही इज सच अ ब्यूटीफुल लाइक सोल दैट वे. उसने कहा हाँ जी मैं आ जाता हूँ. एंड जस्ट टू मेक श्योर दैट राम गेट्स द आइडिया, वरना मैं अपनी आवाज में सीधा गा देता तो शायद सारे गाने हवा हो जाते.
नहीं सर, नहीं है. When he also sang it, there was feeling.
शाम को 6 बजे मिलेंगे और फिर समोसे आएंगे और उसके बाद हम लोग ऊपर ही, जहाँ पे आउटसाइड द स्टूडियो, वी वुड जस्ट जैम.
तो पाली नाके से आते होंगे.
वही
समझ गया.
From waking up a nation to taking a vacation.
बड़े बदतमीज लोग हो यार, अभी याद दिला रहे हो.
अरे यार सॉरी, लेके आना था आज.
No, but they should sing. They should sing.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
And Hum Pardesi, of course, there is a point when he actually sings it.
Yes.
And there is one point when it comes when he's looking at the British flag.
Yeah.
And वो रोंगटे खड़े हो गए मेरे. जब हम परदेसी,
he doesn't know where it is because he hasn't seen it.
You haven't seen it. Yeah. There is a point when he's looking
Spoiler
outside.
alert. Taaruk, it's a spoiler alert.
And he just sees the British flag. And it's almost, it's Hum Pardesi, the song is about that, isn't it? I mean, it's like, ये किस राह पर निकला.
Yeah, I have no country. That I'm like, how is it that my country has been taken away from me?
And when do I actually sing it?
No, you sing it inside when in episode 3 with Underhill.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
that is the.
But we've used it again.
Yeah.
Okay,
And we've
okay.
also intercut it at that time. So
Okay.
वो feeling
this
like an
becomes
alien
his
within
song.
your own country.
Yeah,
Hum
this is his
Pardesi
thematic
comes
song.
about,
This is the song of the character. The character's journey is how he goes from a suit to a dhoti.
Yeah.
And that is really, without it becoming jingoistic, but that is really what the arc of the character is. How do you find your identity? How do you find that you're rooted to this country? Because so much, again, of our roots we don't know, and therefore even our language has been stolen from us. So that's really what this character also goes through, where he realizes the value of having the roots of the place where you belong.
And you know, I was saying this to Ram off the mic, that there is a certain template and cliche also of the lawyer who returns from England and suddenly becomes Swadesi. Because there have been so many instances and cases. Mahatma Gandhi himself, you know, in the Nehru family also. People who was educated in the UK and suddenly became Swadesi. The beauty of this writing and Ram's direction is you don't know when he switched. It's not as though he crawled and then he switched. कि मुझे पीटा अब मैं change हो गया हूँ. It's not as though he lost one friend and he switched. It's not as though something happened. It's just one of those gradual things.
Normally, because I'll tell you what happens is that even when Gandhi was thrown out of the train, that became a catalyst event in his life. But actually, when I was reading more about him, there was another event that also happened where he was off the coast of Africa in a ship, where he was there for 3 weeks, and I'm sure that must have also been a catalyst in his life. But the dramatization of a man being thrown out of a train is an easier dramatization for cinema.
Sure, it is.
वैसे भी symbolism की लड़ाई है ना, तो वो the way it came out, it was also beautiful when that whole situation happens. Once they'll see it.
There are many catalysts that he goes through. So,
and I think for one person to take on something like this, I mean, you know, it feels very romanticized in some movies that we've seen, that, you know, one day this guy just goes rogue and he'll, you know, mess things up for everyone. But it actually, I mean, for him to do this right, in the right way and in their way, to beat them at their own game, he actually required a lot of prep. Like to actually,
because उसकी जो game जो है ना, violence की game, he could not do it with violence. He has to do it with yukti, he has to do it with shakti, he has to do it with brain power, he has to do it with intelligence. Because the you know, and here is a bunch of people who are saying, how do you fight somebody who turns the other cheek? And therefore, and so this is really, and then he uses their weakness against them. He uses their Achilles' heel, so to say, against them.
And this is, we don't want to give more spoilers away, but this is a man who used to work for the British government.
Practically worship them.
कि अंग्रेज दिल के भी गोरे हैं.
You know, that kind of stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, 7th of March on Sony Live, Ram Madhvani creates, directs this beautiful show called The Waking of a Nation. It stars Taaruk Raina, Nikita, Bhavshil, Sahil, excellent ensemble cast, background music and songs by Sameer Uddin. Please go and give this series a lot of love. Thank you, Ram. Thank you, Taaruk.
Thank you so much for all the love that you've given us.
It was a pleasure seeing you.
94.3 Radio 1.